Origami by Dory Kleber. Joey loved things that folded. He collected old road maps. He played the accordion. He slept in a foldaway bed. One day, Sarah Takimoto's mother came to school. She took a plain piece of paper, she folded it and flipped it and pulled it until it became a crane. Joey's eyes popped. His jaw dropped. Mrs. Takimoto called it origami. I want to make origami, Joey told her. Will you teach me? I can show you the fold, she said, but if you want to be an origami master, you'll need practice and patience. Joey started that afternoon. He practiced on his notebook paper and on the construction paper from the art shelf, but even his simple shapes were crooked and crumpled. So he practiced on his homework, and on the newspaper, and on his sister's sheet music, and he practiced on all the gift wrap, and on the recipe for Aunt Vivian's pineapple surprise, and on the $38 in Mom's purse. This folding has to stop, said Mom. Joey drooped. How would he ever become an origami master without practice? He went next door to Muy Mexicana. Fajitas always made him feel better. Joey, Mr. Lopez sang, hey, what's wrong? It takes practice and patience to be an origami master, Joey said. But whenever I practice, everybody else loses their patience. Many artists are misunderstood, amigo, said Mr. Lopez, especially when they are just learning. What's that? Mr. Lopez asked, pointing to Joey's napkin. A pyramid, said Joey. Sorry. No, don't apologize, Mr. Lopez said. I like it. It makes a table look fancy. Could you make more? Joey grinned. I could make 100. So, Joey folded and folded and folded until pyramids perched on every table in the restaurant. Each day after school, Joey went back to Muy Mexicana. He folded napkins into fans. He made candlesticks, then he tried crowns. Some napkins toppled, others flopped, but Joey kept folding until they were perfect. Finally, he was ready to try the most difficult fold of all. He took a crisp napkin, he folded, he flipped, he pulled. It worked! A crane! At last, he was an origami master. Just then, a girl walked in. She was waving a paper fan. Her eyes popped. Her jaw dropped. Did you make that? She asked. Joey nodded. I can show you how, said Joey, but I should warn you, it takes practice and lots of patience. Okay, so we are going to make an easy boat, a yacht. Okay, and this is how you do it. So take out a fresh sheet of origami paper, and you're going to turn it this way. Okay, and you're going to fold it perfectly in half. Okay, so take this point, you're going to bring it up to this top point. Okay, meet the edges really neatly, just like this. Increase it well. Okay, now go ahead and unfold it. Turn the paper, and you're going to repeat that same exact step. So this point to this point. Okay, now go ahead and unfold. Okay, so now you're going to take this bottom point, and you're going to bring it to the center you created by making those lines. So this point to this center. Go ahead and bring the paper up, just like so. Increase it well. Okay, now we're going to take this same point And you're going to bring it downward so that it reaches past this bottom. Okay, so it's going to look like this. Now take that point and bring it up. You should have created a shape like this on the bottom. Now turn the model to the side and you're going to fold it perfectly in half. So this point to this point. And then it should look like this. So turn the model so it's facing in this direction. Actually, turn it so it looks like that. And you're going to go ahead and fold this bottom upward. Okay, so this part, this is going to be the bottom of the boat. So as you can see in the model, it's going to be this part. So you're going to take this bottom and you're going to fold it upward. You can kind of see the shape being created already. So crease that well, and this is where it's going to get tricky because you're going to unfold it. Okay, so make this shape, unfold it, pick up the model, open it up, and you see how it can open just like this. You're going to turn it inside out. Okay, this might take a few tries to get it right, but that's okay. It just takes practice and patience. And just like that, you're done. You made your own easy origami boat, a yacht. You can try to float it on water and you can decorate it. Grandfather's Journey by Alan Say. See, look, that's one of the folds we're going to make today. My grandfather was a young man when he left his home in Japan and went to see the world. He wore European clothes for the first time and began his journey on a steamship. The Pacific Ocean astonished him. For 3 weeks, he did not see land. When land finally appeared, it was the New World. He explored North America by train and riverboat and often walked for days on end. Deserts with rocks like enormous sculptures amazed him. The endless farm fields reminded him of the ocean he had crossed. Huge cities of factories and tall buildings bewildered and yet excited him. He marveled at the towering mountains and rivers as clear as the sky. He met many people along the way. He shook hands with black men and white men, with yellow men and red men. The more he traveled, the more he longed to see new places, and never thought of returning home. Of all the places he visited, he liked California best. He loved the strong sunlight there, the Sierra Mountains, the lonely seacoast. After a time, he returned to his village in Japan to marry his childhood sweetheart. Then he brought his bride to the new country. They made their home by the San Francisco Bay and had a baby girl. As his daughter grew, my grandfather began to think about his own childhood. He thought about his old friends. He remembered the mountains and rivers of his home. He surrounded himself with songbirds, but he could never forget. Finally, when his daughter was nearly grown, he could wait no more. He took his family and returned to his homeland. Once again, he saw the mountains and rivers of his childhood. They were just as he had remembered them. Once again, he exchanged stories and laughed with his old friends. But the village was not a place for a daughter from San Francisco, so my grandfather bought a house in a large city nearby. There, the young woman fell in love, married, and sometime later, I was born. When I was a small boy, my favorite weekend was a visit to my grandfather's house. He told me many stories about California. He raised warblers and silver eyes, but he could not forget the mountains and rivers of California, so he planned a trip. But a war began. Bombs fell from the sky and scattered our lives like leaves in a storm. When the war ended, there was nothing left of the city and of the house where my grandparents had lived. So they returned to the village where they had been children, but my grandfather never kept another songbird. The last time I saw him, my grandfather said that he longed to see California one more time. He never did. And when I was nearly grown, I left home and went to see California for myself. After a time, I came to love the land my grandfather had loved, and I stayed on until I had a daughter of my own. But I also missed the mountains and rivers of my childhood. I missed my old friends. So I return now and then when I cannot still the longing in my heart. The funny thing is, the moment I am in one country, I am homesick for the other. I think I know my grandfather now. I miss him very much. Okay, now we are going to make a tricky boat. Okay, so take out your fresh sheet of origami paper, and you're going to start by folding it perfectly in half. So grab the bottom and meet it to the edge, just like this. Okay, then make sure that you crease it nice and neatly. Okay, go ahead and unfold. And now you're going to fold both of these edges into the center crease. So take it and fold it up and meet it to that center line you just created. Okay. Do the same thing on the other side. Just like that. Okay, now turn the model so it faces this way, and you're going to fold it perfectly in half once again. So meet that end to the top, just like this. Okay, now go ahead and unfold. And now you're going to fold both of these to the center, just like we did previously. So take this bottom, and you're going to line it up to the center crease. You're going to do that on the other side as well. Okay, so it should look like this. You should have a perfect square. Now you're going to go ahead and unfold those two flaps. And this is where it gets tricky. So all of these folds you created is what is going to become this shape, okay? So grab the paper, this flap, like so, and hold it in the center. And you're going to bring it up, and you're going to meet this up. So it like becomes a little triangle. Okay, let me show you again. So you're going to grab this bottom flap, and you're going to pull it upward so it meets, just like this. So you see how it's like rising up into almost like a 3D square. Okay, so you're going to crease it right there. And then you're going to do the same thing the other side, just like that. So now take this bottom end and pull it forward. Okay, and you should have that shape. Just like that. Okay, now you're going to repeat this whole process on the other side. So again, grab that flap, bring it upward, so it forms that triangle on the bottom, and then crease it well, and then repeat that on the other side. Okay, now take it all down. And it should look like this. Okay. Now to finish your boat, pick a side, take these two flaps right here, and you're going to pull it to the center, just like this. You can see how it makes like a diamond. Okay, now flip the model completely around. You're going to take this edge and you're going to bring it to this edge. Crease it well. And you did it. You made a tricky boat. You can float this on water, and it's called a tricky boat because if you take these two end pieces, you can flip them, and look at that, it's still the same shape.